Hello friends, my name is Abhay Kumar and the topic of today's discussion is hijab controversy. You know it very well that Karnataka government has recently brought an order that women, girls students largely belonging to minority Muslims community should not be allowed to school, to educational institutes if they are wearing hijab. And their interpretation is, the interpretation of a government is that wearing hijab and such dresses disturbs equality, integrity and public order, and that is why they should not be allowed. The girls have gone to the court and now the matter is being heard. Several progressive organizations belonging to women, they are also saying that women are deliberately being denied education by the Hindutva forces on the issue of hijab. Dr. Dharmraj Kumar of Jawaharlal Nehru University has very strong opinion on this issue and he has been writing and expressing it on social media. You know him very well. He has studied linguistics and translations at JNU, and he has also taught for 3 years at Delhi University at Education Department, and he keeps writing on contemporary issues. So I request Dharmraj ji to share his thought. Do you think that hijab ban is really a serious issue at this time to be raked up by the government?
Yes, I think it's very important issue at this time, because then BJP, in my opinion, is trying to provocate Muslims, to provocate Hindus of Uttar Pradesh. You can directly see the link, the way, because this hijab controversy in Karnataka has been going on for a while. I mean, for almost straight 3 years, and it has been a quite disturbed situation for girls coming from marginalized sections, including of course minorities like Muslims. But the effect of this controversy is somehow going to pay a dividend to BJP in Uttar Pradesh. This is the first interpretation. Now the most important aspect in my opinion is that hijab controversy is not a controversy at all. It's because of the imposition of some restricted number of people, restricted organizations, or you can say limited organization like RSS and other right-wing or fundamental Hindu supporters, Hindu supporting parties, as they claim. And we have known that Karnataka is a state where BJP has thoroughly been in the power, and they have dictated, actually BJP dictates in Karnataka the forces, basically imposes their own belief system onto all people, which is totally wrong. Now the most important aspect in my opinion, that girls, no matter in which dress they are coming fully like wearing their own cultural dresses. There are other girls also, like some girls, if they are coming in hijab belonging to Muslim community, there are other girls from the same Muslim community who are also coming freely. The way freely, I mean to say, as per the Hindus blame, that those girls who wear hijabs and burqa and abaya and all such, it somehow shows their right-wing mentality or radicalization of Muslims. And in fact several comments I have seen, even those some students who earlier spoke about free ideas, free thought and freedom of all religious practices and everything, even they have become quite narrow in this matter. They also want these girls to behave according to a certain belief system, like Hindu belief system, that if you wear hijab, so that girl is basically trying to compromise with the rules and regulations. I am of strong opinion that who frames these rules and regulations? There are other girls, there are several parents who allow their children to behave the way children decide. But at the same time, there are several parents who, out of fear of the societal behavior, the way girls have been insecure in our society, the girls are chased on the way. So basically parents, out of compulsion, they also want their girls to go all properly covered into clothes. So for me hijab controversy is nothing at all. And those Hindu parties those who say that for Muslims education is not first priority, rather the imposition and practicing of their Islam is first. I say that it is a very narrow way. It means you don't know how Muslim society behaves. Like even in the same school from where recently the hijab controversy erupted or started, there must have been 100 girls even from Muslim community. They may not be wearing hijab. So if 3-4 girls went to school and college and you count that, look, these girls are spreading fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism and radicalism. So at the same time you should also bring those girls into light who do not practice these things and they belong to Muslim community. Why don't you constitute after these girls a very special, it's a big thing that you being a Muslim did not wear anything. So wearing hijab and not wearing hijab is totally misleading. And as a teacher I would like to say that how does it matter to me as a teacher if some girls or any person for that matter sits in my classroom with hijab on their faces and something, how does it matter? It shouldn't matter at all.
Dharmraj ji, you have taught at Delhi University for more than 3.5 years English literature. So I just imagine a situation. In your class there are, let's say 50 students who have come to study, let's say Indian English literature, and you are taking the class, and out of them 10 girls students, if they wear hijab, do you really think that teaching will be disturbed?
Not at all. Why should teaching be disturbed? I as a teacher would not look at their dresses. I am not at all interested. Even why would I even bother with the girls are sitting more or boys are sitting more and what they are wearing? In that manner I have seen, I belong to Bihar, I have seen a complete imposition. If hijab is a controversy, so you see that across, at least in North India, Saraswati Puja is celebrated in the campus. Even in the university like Jawaharlal Nehru University, Durga Puja is celebrated. So pompously. They impose
and
it
even
actually.
The vice chancellor goes there to inaugurate.
Exactly. They go. The vice chancellors, previous vice chancellors, have gone to attend these. So basically, it's a clear sign that what kinds of festivals will be celebrated and will be supported by the system and the government, and what kind of systems and religious practices would face opposition of the government and power. So this is entirely a ploy of the ruling RSS and BJP parties. They don't want the representation of the marginalized in the university spaces and school spaces, which is wrong at the end. Even if one is, I suppose if had I been a very narrow-minded teacher and I would want that girl not to wear hijab, so that is not the method that I will kick her out of the classroom in the name. In fact, I will educate her, I will allow in that same dress. And I believe that if your education, if you think you are an ideologue, you are a teacher, you should convince, you should allow girls to sit in the hijab, and if the girl would feel comfortable in your classroom, if she would communicate the same at her home, that look, school is very good, nobody considers me Muslim, nobody treats me like a Muslim, nobody discriminates me as a Muslim, everybody shares my lunch, my dinner, and people are equally ready to sit with me and everything. Like the day they would feel equality, of course they would follow you or you would follow them. So what have they done at the end? Parents, out of fear, they sent their daughters in hijab, fearing that she will not be looked upon, she would not be chased, stalked, and so many things. By chasing a girl into abaya and hijab, 500 girls wearing clad in saffron dupatta that you say, and gamchas and all these things, actually you endorsed, you approved of the fear of that parents actually. If those 500 students would have come to help her, that sister, I will help you, tell me what's the problem. See, the girl is openly saying in that last video we have seen that I just wanted to submit my assignments and go back, and 500 students chased her. Was there any person who could have offered her help? That yes sister, tell me, why would you even go to the look, I'm going in that side, I will submit your assignment, instead of extending help. If you are barring or creating a reason, creating ruckus to produce more hurdles to her life, you are rather making them fundamental after your activities, after what you do. Because you are clearly sending a message that if you are a Muslim, will not be in Muslim locality with Muslim friends, then you can fall into danger. So I would request these parties that, first of all, to my those people who are listening to me, that there's no need to feel that, do not understand that every person who is 500, those 500 students are not the picture of any religion per se. We have to fight it.
So, Dharmraj ji, some people who are not followers of right-wing Hindutva ideology, they are even making statements in favor of hijab ban, indirectly or directly. And you have differences with those people. I also have differences. And I am just recalling my childhood and my journey till this time. In our primary school, Saraswati Puja was being celebrated. In Bihar, there is one Ganesh,
and it follows with extreme level of violence, I should tell you. On the day of immersion of idol of Saraswati ji, you see what kind of Saraswati Puja is celebrated in this place. Your faith from the religion would go away, simply vanish, I tell you.
So in Ganesh, the Ganesh Puja was also celebrated. The pratana, the prayer in the school was Tameva Mata cha Pita Tameva, Tameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tameva. It is also in Sanskrit. When I came to study in Delhi, even Indian Institute of Mass Communication, which is just 500 meters away from the place where we are just recording this discussion. When I entered, I found the big statue of Saraswati Mata there.
Of course, actually.
In JNU also we have seen, as you have mentioned earlier also, that a Saraswati Puja
was not celebrated earlier. It's a recent phenomenon. After the BJP has come to power, Saraswati Puja has been deliberately being imposed here, and that is also celebrated by science school, not celebrated overall by all students of JNU.
So the Saraswati Puja is there, and even Durga Puja is there, and any festival, any program at public offices, government offices, they start with breaking of the onions. Sorry, onions, I mean to say the coconut, and also they light lamp. That lamp that is traditional, it is believed to be traditional Hindu way of inaugurating the program. And worse still, the Prime Minister of this country, violating all Corona guidelines, he went all the way to Ayodhya to inaugurate, what should I say, the laying foundations of proposed Ram temple in Ayodhya. So you could understand that the Prime Minister, the political officers, they have no problem openly associating themselves with the Hindu cultures, and even the politicians are also competing with each other, that who will build up the biggest temple, Parsuram's temple, or this god temple, or that god temple. So on the one hand, we have use of Hindu majoritarian religious culture in public. On the other hand, we have minority girls who are most backward because of discrimination by the state. Somehow they are coming to school. Private universities have already thrown them out because of fees structure, and now this hijab issue is being created. This issue is so clear. If right-wing forces justify hijab ban, we can understand, because their mind is programmed in such a way that they will work against Muslims and Muslims' interest. But why a section of progressive and even those who belong to Dalit Bahujan ideology, they do not understand. I am not saying that they are not honest, but why do they fail to see the larger picture, and what is your message for them? How could we convince them that it has nothing to do with empowerment of women? It is basically a question of demonizing the minority community, which is already marginalized, already demonized, already put to the corner.
See, the problem is not that I have to convince any person. I am very clear on this part, that after the BJP taking over in the center, after Narendra Modi becoming the Prime Minister of India, the people on the ground have been categorical in their political expression. Recently, quite recently, they said that CAA NRC will be imposed. So basically, in CAA NRC, what kinds of Muslims would be allowed and what kinds of Muslims will not be allowed? Was there any mention of it? They said that only Hindus of some countries, foreign countries, will be allowed, but not Muslims. I mean, so you can see it is not about even on the ground that every Hindu is against Muslim or every scholars. Or you have just raised concerns about those Dalit Bahujan who somehow knowingly or unknowingly, but I would say it's not unknowingly.
Yeah.
The very limited number of scholars belonging even to marginalized sections knowingly, deliberately to appease the masters of the ruling class. It is very precise. It's very
So you
clear.
mean to say
Yes,
that
they are
mouthing, they are parroting the positions of the ruling classes,
No,
so
no,
that
see, they totally understand the way unemployment has been generated in this country. I say generated, I mean unemployment. It's not a sudden employment that suddenly a large number of people came out with the degrees, graduation degrees and PG degrees. That is why the unemployment is being displayed across the country. If you would notice that the government has created this huge lot of unemployed youth so that unemployed people should know how to get the job. So these people who belong to marginalized section but still speak the language of division, language of Hindu-Muslim riot or fundamentalism, these people clearly know. No matter whether you are educated from the central universities of India or the foreign universities across the world, even the best universities of the world, they might also be equally the representative of hatred. These people can also be the merchant of hate. These people are merchant of, I consider these people a merchant of hate. They will go to Oxford. They have seen that in Oxford University, everybody knows that on the question of Palestine, how Palestinians oppose against the Israeli imposition. You know, they are the same so-called Hindu scholars studying at Oxford and Cambridge. There they do not have guts to say, to stop Palestinian from starting those movements against Israeli and everything. If I remember at once Israeli, I think a scholar or professor or ambassador, I'm just not sure, I think Israel ambassador was invited once at Oxford University, and that ambassador had to vehemently face opposition, and ultimately Oxford University has to cancel his program. Imagine if the same would happen here. So people would say that look how these Muslims are overpowering everything, they are capturing everything. It's not about Muslim or Hindu, and it's about marginalization. If you will start giving place in the universities or even to the educated, among the educated class, the place to these hate mongers and riot peddlers, then what is the purpose of education? I just read before your interview that in Jain PU College, Tumkuru, Karnataka, a teacher, Chandni Naz, who had already been teaching for last 3 years in hijab itself. Since last 3 years, the system did not have any problem. After this problem started, the principal sent a note to all teachers that now hijab and any religious symbols will not be accepted by this college system. And in protest against that Chandni Naz, a teacher of English department, resigned from her position on her own, that look, I am not comfortable, I cannot. Now you think yourself, people should think on their own, when students did not raise any alarm that why this teacher is teaching us in hijab. Since 3 years there was no problem at all, but now out of to save her dignity, to save her culture, to save her existence, she had to resign. So what kind of systems basically we are supporting and building? So hijab is not at all any problem for nobody. In fact, I recall my childhood days, my mother used to teach me that it's not about Hanuman ji ka mandir and Shiv ji ka mandir and Vishnu ji ka temple. Whenever we used to see any kind of dargah, sharif or any mosque, my mother used to like mazar or whatever, my mother used to teach, namaskar karo, pranam karo, ashirwad le lo. So we are brought up actually in that culture, syncretic culture, and in mixed up culture. In fact, we used to keep some money as a donation even to some sharif and mazar.
When my mother passes through Patna's Mahatma Gandhi Setu Pool on bus or on car, sometimes he will throw 1 or 2 rupees ka coin
in the Ganga river, exactly, out of faith. So faith does not mean that somebody is filled with hatred against any community. My mother told me and taught me to respect all religious symbols and place. And does that mean that I became religious? I don't believe in religion that way. I am totally like atheist, you can say. I do not practice. I have no disrespect for any religion and no special respect for any religion. But as a teacher, it is very painful to see that girls are coming to the gate of the university or the college and they are being forced out because of some lumpens and supporters of hatred and all these things. This is very painful sight to see. And internationally, if you see, it does not. It is somehow it blurs the very vision, so-called the united India, the image we had protected for so many years. I think it is totally compromised. In fact, school should say, we see the same Hindus who have problems with hijab controversy, do they have any problem when their girls are being asked to wear skirts in the private schools run by Christian schools? Can they say, you just find out? I remember 5-6 years ago, a BJP minister or some MLA in Maharashtra has said that all Christian schools and Christian missionary schools and colleges, and it's a very regular agenda, by the way, of the BJP, that through Christian school and missionary school, Christianity and conversion and all these things are being propagated in India.
Anti-Hindu activities.
Anti-Hindu activities are happening. Surprisingly, when I inquired about that MLA's background, I observed that all his children studied from best school missionary run by Christian missionaries, and they are all relaxing on the Goa beach kind of in bikini and everything whatnot. So what kind of culture and what kind of uniformity are we talking about? Let people exercise the freedom. So and if they say, just last point, if they say that Muslims are conservative, I should ask them a very, very normal question. I should ask one, that you make a list of Bollywood, make a list of 10 heroines. Out of those 10, I think 6 or 7 most beautiful heroines and in modern clothes might be from Muslim culture. There you don't protest that I will not watch, or why don't you take them? So it is totally a matter of individual choice. It has nothing to do with public order and public demeanor, that how I will send my, even these parents would be, those parents who are scared to send their children, daughters without hijab, they should be taken into confidence. So whether the hijab is a religious symbol or a symbol of protection. We see in Uttar Pradesh, do you think that all Hindu girls wearing a skirt and wearing bikinis, that they are getting raped in broad daylight and no FIRs being lodged? In this election is going in Uttar Pradesh, somebody should inform how many Hindu girls are being raped and how many FIRs are being lodged. You see, after the girls get raped in Uttar Pradesh, and in fact across the country, it takes very powerful people, the support of powerful people just to lodge the FIR against the outrage of modesty. What system are we talking about? No, I have a very simple question. Even if these girls, those who are wearing hijab and their parents come to these Hindu leaders and they say that, look, I am ready to send my daughters as per what you say, can you assure us of the protection, daughter protection? They can't, because their own daughters are not safe. Hindu daughters are not safe, Hindu sisters are not safe. What is happening in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and Delhi, quite recently is known as a rape capital of India. In fact, there was a movie made and which was screened at international level. So it is totally, in relation to the security largely. And I have seen several people, like even in the same classroom, whenever there is a controversy, religious controversy, even among Hindus and Muslims, you will find all kinds of people. So imposing or taking hijab out and making it as a criteria for accepting girls in the classroom or not actually show the very narrow approach of teachers.
So Dharmraj ji, you were referring to hypocrisy, double standard of the Hindutva forces. Linked to this is the new game plan in which Hindutva forces are misquoting Dr. Ambedkar or appropriating Dr. Ambedkar to say that Dr. Ambedkar was against hijab and Dr. Ambedkar was against patriarchy within the Muslims community. But whatever I have studied the literature of Dr. Bhim Ambedkar and the writings of Bhim Ambedkar, the central question in the writing of Dr. Bhim Ambedkar is that how caste system has denied the existence and the practice of equality, liberty and fraternity in this country, this is responsible for the poverty, for the backwardness and all kinds of the social ills and social problems. And the issue of caste is to be seen, is to be linked with the questions of gender. And Dr. Ambedkar has said very clearly that women, Dalits and Sudras are demonized by the Manu Smriti. Manu Smriti is not only against Dalits. Manu Smriti is not speaking against Sudra. Manu Smriti is equally speaking against women. So, women questions, Dalits questions and backward questions, they are linked. They are made slaves by this Hindu society. We have seen the protest social movements against child marriage. We have seen protest for giving rights to women in colonial time and post-colonial time. So my point is, you go to any field, parliament, political institutions, government institutions, higher educations, property, you will find that women in general, they are marginalized, and women belonging to marginalized community, Dalits, Muslims, backward classes, they are further marginalized. So is it not paradoxical that the government, the Hindutva government is not ready to spend even 1 rupee on the welfare of Muslims community and Muslim women, and it is projecting itself as the biggest champion of the Muslim women. Even some reports have come that the budget allocations to minority has been reduced. A scholarship given to Muslim has been reduced. So this is paradox, and the question is not approached in this way, that the Hindutva government at the top is not really serious about the empowerment of Muslim women. They are just doing politics. They are further putting salt into the wounds of the Muslims community. So my point is that Hindutva parties have their own agenda to maintain caste order. Why not social justice party, left parties, which claim that they have a vision for building up, let's say, equal society? Why are they not taking up the questions of women empowerment and linking it with the caste system? What is happening, that tokenism is being made. Even in Uttar Pradesh, one political leader is trying to appease women, and see, the leader is visiting every day Hindu temple. So what kind of empowerment will be done in Uttar Pradesh if that women leader becomes even the chief minister? So my point is, given your experience and your vast reading, you feel really sad that why gender, caste, their empowerment are not the issues in the public domain. Secular parties are doing just tokenism, and communal parties are 24-hour demonizing Muslims and polarizing society on the basis of religion. Your view on that?
See, you asked 2-3 questions. So first, going by this Dr. Ambedkar's position. See, the time when Dr. Ambedkar was writing, on the partition and Pakistan, and that was the time where all greatest scholars of that 20th century was trying to understand the question of nationalism, was trying to understand the race theory, how race operates, how nation operates, how people are so much sticking to one ideology and religion, where they can be motivated to put a demand for separation of the country, despite ignoring the fact that it might lead to huge level of violence and massacre and killing of millions of people. So what was Ambedkar saying at that time, was writing in that time? It's a contextual. It's a very, I shall explain it through one example. Dr. Ambedkar, before his death, converted to Buddhism. All of us know that even in every religion there are several shades. So when Dr. Ambedkar converted himself to Buddhism, does it mean that he started wearing all the bhante dress, all that saffron clad dress that Buddhist monks wear? No. In that same manner, we must also engage with that those Hindus have Hindu rishis and munis and sannyasis, all these people wear different dresses. But see, I would also be defined within Hindu system. Look, I am not wearing anything like Baba Yogi Adityanath. He calls himself as Baba and Sannyasi. Who was Sannyasi who has been Sannyasi and Babas in our tradition? Those who leave
material world,
renounce this material world, this त्याग की भावना होनी चाहिए उनमें. You look, I mean Gautam Buddha, and if you have to understand the terrain of religious ideas, you can understand by this that there was one Gautam Buddha who was born a king, or who was born to a king's house as a prince. He left everything and he became a monk. And look at our Babaji, Yogi Adityanath, who was born to a common man, converted himself into a sannyasi, and thereafter started chasing after power. He grabbed the power and spoke so many things that even I can't imagine those words and that kind of language. So this is contradictory. Right. Second question, you said that about scholarships and everything. I mean, their scholarships.
So why not caste and gender are being linked?
Caste and gender are not being linked. So you see that actually it is linked itself. What?
No, I mean to say that why this issue is not in the public domain, even it is not being
no. It is in the public domain. The problem is we should not always look towards these so-called elected leaders, because these leaders have become so self-centric. These leaders have become so money-oriented that they know what is being sold in the market. What is being sold in the market. They take charge of a constituency where mixed societies live. So they become representative of that society of different communities living together, but after they speak in the parliament, they represent only one faction. So in fact they represent only one section, and that makes them divided into several factions. So that's bad. They are not basically doing their own duty. And whereas the matter of promotion, what I understood is a promotion, that if Modi government or BJP government or any communal parties per se would be so much adamant on so-called, I mean they oppose hijab and all Islamic culture and everything that they call with the spirit of promoting them. But they do not allot a huge scholarship. They do not welcome the students, girls and women with open arms, ensuring their stay in the campus, providing free hostels, free education, free scholarships. They do not even have on agenda that there should be several trips arranged for students. I am of strong opinion that education system needs to incorporate a method in which several students, the students of different backgrounds, should get an opportunity to meet with other culture, other systems. Like Karnataka students should be taken to Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir. Bihar students should be taken to Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. There should be this kind of culture. That is why we could only appreciate the Indianness, what we call as the multilingual and multicultural.
Will you suggest some measures that should be taken for the empowerment of women rather than wrecking up the hijab issue?
Of course, that there should be a fixed seats. Large number of seats need to be reserved for women of all sections, and it should be protected fully through scholarships and education. Automatically when these girls would study, and I have Jamia Millia Islamia is quite nearby, quite near to this place, JNU. I have often gone there. Many times I go there at times to eat or meet my friends and everything. I observe that there are several Muslim girls and Muslim boys. Very limited number of students basically come in wearing hijab and abaya and everything. Most of the girls and boys are just coming the way we dress and we practice. What they eat, we eat everything. Now, there's no difference at all. In fact, the most striking example of the hypocrisy of this BJP government, you must recall when the triple talaq was being opposed by BJP, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi was delivering the speech in favor of Muslim women, at that time these Godi media journalists were looking for women wearing hijab and abaya, so that they can put the picture of those women clad in black dress in abaya and say, look, these suppressed and marginalized women,
Very
Modi is
important
speaking,
point, friends.
Modi is
Very
speaking for
important
them,
point,
Modi is
Dr.
speaking for them, Modi is speaking for them. So look, at what time
Very
even they
important
need.
point Dr. Dharmraj has said, that when the Hindutva party has to project itself
The champion, the savior of Muslim women.
as a party championing Muslim women cause, they will somehow arrange and bring some Muslim women. I don't know even they are Muslim women or they are Hindu women.
Wearing that abayas and hijab.
It may be possible there are men also.
Exactly.
There may be men also who are wearing hijab.
inside
So
burqa.
at that time, when it comes to representing Muslim women, then they will put hijab. Even several schemes which are designed for the Muslim women, so the picture of Muslim women in hijab will be put.
Yeah.
So that
show
the government is so much
celebrating this identity.
Yes, the government is so much working for the Muslim women, and how the image of Muslim women is being, what should I say, reified. But when Muslim women in their real life, if they come to hijab for studying, that becomes a big issue. Friends, Dr. Dharmraj Kumar of Jawaharlal Nehru University has spoken his mind on hijab, and whatever I have learned from him is that hijab issue is nothing to do with Hindutva's parties, any agenda of Muslims empowerment. It is basically being raked up to create further polarizations. And during our discussion, Dr. Dharmraj Kumar has also touched upon several issues, vegetarian religiosity, also the hypocrisy of the secular parties, and as a teacher he has also experienced his share. Sir, Dharmraj ji, thank you very much for talking.
Thank you.